right near the causeway. It's a little bit difficult to it depends on which way you're looking at it, but it appears as though we're on the east side of it. This is a lot of information coming to us all at once, so we are trying to break it down for you guys at home. But once we learn any new details, we'll make sure to let you know. I think the hardest part has definitely been the visibility, which as of right now is actually starting to clear up a bit. We can feel the temperature dropping just a little bit more. But this is definitely something that I would really like actually to learn a bit more from our meteorologists here, just to learn how this fog kind of came in, because as we saw it literally just 3 minutes ago in our live shot, it was very thick, and now it appears to be kind of moving maybe a little bit more north with this wind. Again, once we learn any new details about what exactly caused this plane crash, we'll make sure to let all of you at home know, both on air and on Fox Local as well.
Yeah, Angie, the dense marine fog advisory is in place, and as soon as we get JD, we will go to him so we can learn more. As far as the location of this plane crash, 99th Street and Crash Basin in Galveston, that's kind of where this is all happening in Galveston Bay. As there's two locations that they're kind of looking at, as well as Teekman and Bloom Drive. Now that 99th Street and Crash Basin, I guess, isn't too far from Moody Gardens, popular for kayak entry. So if that gives you a little bit of perspective, if you're watching this from home. This call came in around 3:20 in the afternoon. Now, Angie, is this area that you're standing at, are they letting anybody up any closer? I see the caution tape. Is it a pretty large area that they have blocked off? I'm trying to give our audience some perspective as to just how big this scene is.
Yeah, it's definitely really big, and like you said, that crime scene tape is right up behind me. So they're not letting people out towards the causeway, but this entire street is actually closed off. While we were making our way down here, it's almost the entire Broadway street that is just filled with firefighters and the Galveston County Sheriff's Office units, a lot of different vehicles here on scene. We do know, again, Texas DPS is supposed to be here on scene, so once we are able to talk with them, we can learn a bit more about what exactly we can expect to see in the coming hours and what eventually will happen with this investigation. But yeah, this entire area is blocked off. The exit itself is not blocked off, so if you do have to exit on Broadway Street, you still can. But if you're coming towards the causeway, you will not be able to pass. It seems as though they're not letting anyone inside of the water at this point, but of course that is just part of the investigation, is making sure that the area is secure.
All right, and we're going to get back to you in just a little bit. We do want to go to our meteorologist, John Dawson, to talk about the weather conditions, because we don't have it confirmed that this was the reason for the crash, but we know that weather does play a big factor.
Yeah, that's a great point, Rashi, is that we have no information on what caused the crash or if it is in fact weather related. We just know that this dense fog, the weather is certainly going to be a part of this rescue operation. Just because the visibility is so awful, you can see that clearly from our cameras. You see it with the TransStar cameras, and then we have the cameras on the ground. And again, I can show you on my maps kind of what we're looking at, even though sometimes that camera that we've got is even a better sort of indication, gives us a much kind of an idea of what's happening. But here's what I kind of want to get us the big picture to note, is that when you see a 10 on here, 10 miles of visibility, that means there's no obstructions. You can see as far as you can normally see without any sort of fog or any weather that's playing into effect. And then when you start, these numbers start getting lower, that's your visibility starts getting lower. So when you get down to a mile or less, that's when you, as a driver of a vehicle, need to start driving differently, just because you weren't able to see far enough that you can drive the normal speeds that you normally drive, and in a way that's just like there's nothing happening. So that's kind of to give you an idea of that. When you see this one, that's pretty thick fog. That's some dense fog that you're dealing with. But even when you start looking at something like a 7 or a 5, that's when the clouds seem to be getting really low, and our visibility is impacted a little bit, but you can still see pretty safe to do most of what you want to do on a roadway. But when you start getting down to a quarter of a mile visibility, that's a lot of fog that you're dealing with. That's the time in which you're wondering if your lights are helping or hurting even a little bit. We know we want to keep those high beams down. You don't want to use the high beams when you're driving in dense fog. And if you have fog lights, that's when you certainly want to make sure that you're using them, and you've got to slow down for sure. So At the airport in Galveston is where our instruments are. It's recording 1/4 mile visibility. So again, most of this, we kind of draw this in a little bit with our own shading over into Bolivar Peninsula, Galveston Island itself. That visibility is not great. You're impacted by that. We've seen that with our TransStar camera. If you get a chance to see that TransStar camera, you'll notice that the traffic it's still moving, but it's going to be slower than what we would normally find on an everyday situation. And we've got in Galveston Bay itself, in the Galveston Bay area, so not, and that goes all the way up to LaPorte. Galveston Bay goes, off just to the barrier islands here. There's been a dense marine fog advisory all day long. As a matter of fact, it's still issued until noon tomorrow, and that's for the area of Galveston Bay because there's, again, so much more moisture there. The temperature drops to the dew point, and that's when it gets released. And basically, fog, by definition, is a cloud that's in contact with the ground. And so we've got that complete cloud contact throughout the Galveston Bay area. That's why we've had that marine dense fog advisory. It's been going all day today, and it even goes until noon tomorrow. And that's been including most of the island as well, just because it's sitting right on Galveston Bay. It's just right there on the island. And so a lot of those impacts of whatever's happening in the bay is also impacting the folks on the island itself. So this is kind of what we've been dealing with, this 1/4 mile visibility. Just to kind of review again, we have a plane crash that we're working a rescue with. We don't know why the plane crashed. We're not exactly sure where the plane crashed, except Galveston Bay is sort of the term that's being used. We do know that at the bridge, at the beginning of the causeway, where on the mainland, that's where a lot of the search and rescue boats are being deployed from, and the visibility is not great for sure. So we're going to get back to, we're going to go ahead and go with Fox 26 News at 5 starts right now.
Fox 26 News at 5 starts now.
Well, we begin with some breaking news that we're following from Galveston Bay. A small plane crash has gone into the bay during this heavy fog. This is a live look from Houston TransStar. 6 people were on board that plane.
And we are still getting more information into our newsroom, but we want to let you know that the Galveston County Sheriff's Office is telling us at least 3 people have been loaded into an ambulance, and that does include a small child. Now, this video that you're seeing here, we're looking at together, it came into our newsroom just a few moments ago after officials arrived on scene. And we do have our Angie Rodriguez that just arrived on scene as well. So Angie, what can you tell us about what you've learned since arriving there?
Right, so it's a lot of the same details that you guys just mentioned. So again, 6 people were in the water, 3 of them were loaded into an ambulance, and one of those was a small child. But I think the biggest factor so far since we've gotten here has to be the visibility. I want you guys to go ahead and take a look just at the sheer amount of you can't see, right? It's low visibility. This could have been a factor. It's not confirmed by Galveston County Sheriff's Office or Texas DPS, which are the 2 agencies that are going to be investigating this incident. We are trying to learn more information from some of the people here. We did try to speak with a family that's here on scene as well. We were told that someone from inside the plane had called a 911 originally. The Coast Guard says that the call came in at around 3:20 in the afternoon, and Galveston County Sheriff's Office says they responded to this plane crash near the base of the causeway, which is where we are at. We do know, again, Texas DPS is supposed to be making their way to the scene with the Galveston County Sheriff's Office. We're hoping to learn more about this investigation, including what the extent. As you can tell, this has just been a lot for us to kind of unpack for you guys at home. I don't know if you were listening during a little bit, probably about 15 minutes ago, we were live on air as well, and my hair was straight, right? You can tell this low visibility has a lot to do with the humidity in this area, and it really could have affected a lot of what really was going on with that plane crash. So once we learn any new details on why this had happened, we'll keep you updated on Fox Local. Angie Rodriguez, Fox 26 News.
Now, Angie, I know that a lot of people have been asking online if the causeway is open or not, being rush hour traffic. it's something that people are concerned about. So can you let us know about that?
It doesn't appear that it is. We do know that this exit here off of Broadway Street is open right now, but it is loaded with police cars and ambulances and fire trucks from very many different departments. So we are being told from officers here on scene and patrol units to let the public know to try to stay away from this area if you can, just because of that investigation, to make sure it is able to be conducted clearly and properly.
Angie, we are watching a lot of first responders head towards Galveston Bay. Just to give people some perspective, is there a sense of urgency? Are there ambulances? What have you seen just standing there kind of watching these first responders head towards the bay?
There is kind of a sense of urgency, but it seems like most of this is pretty much under control as of right now. We do know a total of 6 people were in the water. 3 of them, though, have already been taken into ambulances. We're waiting to learn more about the other 3 that might have been involved, but there are a lot of boats actually coming out of the water that we've been able to see. So it seems as the ones that were deployed earlier, they might be switching out, switching shifts. Again, we don't really know that yet, but there are some coming out of the water. So it appears as though this is pretty controlled as of right now. It just seems as though right now is the main investigation that's going on into why this might have happened or what factors could have played a big part in this.
And Angie, right now we're showing a map to give our audience a better idea of where we're looking at here. So like you said, the causeway seems to be open right now and there's emergency personnel all around. What was it like for you to get there? Because I'm sure there were emergency crews there already.
Yeah, they definitely were. As soon as we took this exit, it was completely full of different departments, and you'll see one of these dive teams actually making their way out right now. They just pulled away the crime scene tape to let them go ahead and come out. This is just one of several that we've seen kind of make their way out of the causeway, but this is just, you know, an ongoing situation that we've been following. It seems they are putting that crime scene tape back up, so they are actually continuing to investigate. It seemed as though they might have been trying to move it, but it appears as though they're putting it right back. So it seems as though they are continuing to block off the rest of the causeway, just the very end of it. The rest of this road is pretty much open, but it appears this is just the absolute latest information that we have. And again, a lot of different patrol units here on scene from different departments. We're waiting for Texas DPS to bring us an update on the extent of the injuries and any new information from that plane crash from the FAA.
All right, Angie Rodriguez reporting live there for us in Galveston after a plane went down in Galveston Bay around 3:20 this afternoon with 6 people on board. We'll continue to have live updates from the scene, but we do know that it is foggy and there's actually a dense marine fog advisory in place in Galveston. While we don't know if that played a role in this crash, we do want to get to meteorologist John Dawson, who's tracking this fog for us.
Yeah, I think that's great to point out there, Caroline, is that we don't know why the plane crashed. It might have been weather related, but for sure, the search and rescue part of it is going to be impacted, just like anything else anybody's doing around Galveston Island because of that dense fog that we've got out there. So this is a look at that dense marine fog advisory that's in place. There's a 1/4 mile visibility on Galveston Island. This dense marine fog advisory has been around all day long, and it's, as a matter of fact, it's through all the way tomorrow at noon. So we have a Houston TrendStar camera that we could take a quick look at here. This is the causeway. So just to clarify, to our understanding, the causeway itself is not closed. It is open. You can see the traffic moving on the causeway. I would be hopeful that everyone is slowing down just a little bit on the causeway, though. So again, right now, the issues, the problems that we're having are right in the Galveston area. If you're in the downtown Houston area, you're really not seeing any of the fog right now, but certainly later on this evening and into the overnight, that is going to be a situation like today. We're going to have that fog around the area again into the morning. We're still going to be locked into this very warm pattern where we're near record high temperatures, and that's going to even include the forecast once we get into Christmas Day. Little bit of rain chances to talk about here or there. We'll get into the details of that as well coming up.
All right, JD, we do want to get to an update that we just learned. The Coast Guard has confirmed that there were actually 8 people on board this small plane that crashed in Galveston Bay near the Galveston Causeway. We are continuing to learn more information as we are on the air, so we will make sure to continue to update you throughout our newscast. We also encourage you to go to fox26houston.com where you're going to get real-time updates there as well. Well, tonight, 2 bodies were pulled from 2 separate bayous in Houston, and investigators are piecing together what happened. More than 30 bodies have been found in Houston area bayous just this year.
Fox 26's Carrie Belger is live for us on Old Spanish Trail in MLK, where one of the 2 bodies was recovered, Carrie's.
That's right. And to give you a little more context of where we are, we're not that far from the University of Houston. Authorities found that body on the rocks near the bayou, not too far from where I am standing right now, just to add a little more context here. But this was just the first call. Take a look at some video from downtown Houston. That's where another call came in where police responded. This video was taken near North Crawford and Elysian, and multiple units responded to the scene. Police spent more than an hour here interviewing people, trying to collect information. A lot of the people in the area they were interviewing were unhoused. So right now, police have not indicated whether these 2 incidents were related either to each other or any of the other instances where bodies have been found in Houston area bayous. But that's now something they are trying to piece together, and they are trying to figure out what exactly happened and who these people are. Caroline, Rashi.
Do we have any idea what led to the death of either of those individuals?
Well, right now, we do not know that information. Houston police have not given any indication about when they will release those details. But in the past, when Fox 26 has covered these stories, they've noted it's sometimes a challenge to determine a cause of death. That's because the water in the bayou can cause bodies to decompose at a more advanced rate, and that can make it a lot harder for officials to try and find out what exactly happened. Near Bray's Bayou, I'm Karis Belger, Fox 26 News.
All right, Karis, thank you, and welcome to Fox 26. Well, in Fort Bend County, charges are expected to be filed against a wrong-way driver in a devastating wreck on the Grand Parkway. The crash happened around 2 in the morning Saturday near FM 1464. A driver going south in the northbound lane slammed into a family of 4. 3 members of that family died. A small child survived along with the 28-year-old suspect.
Today at 5, you probably heard of Mickey's Soul Food Cafe. Well, they were hit by criminals and also an accident. We're talking 2 separate incidents.
It's been a lot for them, especially this time of year, with thieves smashing into the Third Ward location and then that car crashing through the front of their West Belfort restaurant. Fox 26's Leslie Delaspore is live in the West Belfort location with more on what all has happened to this business, Leslie.
Yeah, Caroline, a lot has happened to this business. I want you to take a look at this. A car came and plowed right through the front of Mickey's Cafe here on West Belfort. But their Third Ward location was also hit, but not by a vehicle, but by thieves. I spoke with the owner today. Take a listen to what they had to say.
My kitchen lead cook called and she was like, somebody broke in the glass. Took a picture of it, sent it over, and I'm like, early, I think about 4:45 in the morning. Unfortunately, they did take the safe. But, you know, the crazy part about that is we're heavily credit card use when people pay for their food, so it wasn't a lot of money in the safe.
The replacements cost more than what they took, so it must have meant the risk for them to do that.
So they broke in, they broke the whole glass out. And, you know, I guess they use what they do to break in car windows. They broke it out, they crawled through, and then they came straight to the office. And they went in the door, and of course they trashed the place. And we treat our employees right, we pay everybody like they're supposed to be paid, like anything that you can name in the restaurant, we do right by our people. And so this, I believe it was a random act, and it was just a bad seed trying to test us and see what we're made of. We posted it on Instagram and Facebook, not for sympathy, but to really put awareness to people that this can still happen to anybody. Just because we've been in Houston as long doesn't mean that you're scotch free when it comes to people breaking in or robbing. Of course, we're going to do our adjustments, beef up our security. We're going to have security team at night, the things that make our customers feel safe.
Nobody was hurt. Everything was replaceable. So that's all that really matters. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to keep on pushing forward.
Now, the owners also told me that they're very appreciative of the community support through this very challenging time. Back to you.
Leslie, with these two incidents happening just days apart, are they feeling like this could have possibly been targeted, or do they think that these were both random?
Yeah, so the owners both told me that they don't believe they are being targeted. They believe that what happened at the 3rd Ward location was random. But what happened here on West Belford, we'll have more of those details coming up for you at 6. Reporting in Southwest Houston, Leslie Delasport, Fox 26 News.
All right, Leslie, thank you. Well, as holiday gatherings get underway, doctors are warning of an increase in flu cases across the country. That's all coming up next. And in our second half hour, a live report on the record holiday travel rush expected this week.
From Texas to Chicago to Times Square, it's Fox New Year's Eve Live, the biggest party of the year, only on Fox.
The flu is surging nationwide with nearly 5 million cases already reported ahead of the holidays.
We're seeing it a bit earlier this year than last year, and we're seeing more of it.
As cases increase, doctors say this year's flu season could be tougher than usual, thanks in part to a new variant of the virus, H3N2 subclade K. This strain developed too late in the year to be included in this year's vaccine formulation. Subclade K tends to be more infectious and can cause more severe symptoms like fever, cough, body aches, and fatigue. And while the vaccine may not include this variant, doctors say it can still help with symptoms if you get sick.
We don't have a perfect vaccine in this case. But what it really does is if you are infected with the flu virus, it takes it from what we call wild to mild.
In some parts of the country, cases are so high among children that schools have decided to start winter break a little early in hopes of lessening the spread at holiday gatherings.
We didn't want staff and students going to their family Christmases sick and taking this stuff to their grandma and grandpas, and that's important. So we wanted to really get everybody well by Christmas.
Doctors are also stressing the importance of early testing and treatment. Antiviral medications work best when started within the first few days of symptoms. In Atlanta, Jonathan Seri, Fox News.
All right, I'm just going to jump right to Christmas activities. Christmas Eve in the afternoon, we'll have a high of about 79 degrees, and Christmas Day, even warmer. And yes, those are within a few degrees of the record highs on those dates. So what we've been doing the last couple of days, we're going to keep doing and then even continue once we get to Christmas Eve and Christmas Day with these well above average temperatures, maybe even setting record highs. We're going to keep the humidity. We're going to keep the general warm pattern through the end of the week. If you're in the downtown Houston area, or this is our camera over in the Galleria area, we're not dealing with that fog that we were talking about at the beginning of the newscast. There's certainly the fog down there, but it's very confined to the coast. Most of us aren't seeing that, but when we get to the overnight hours, the air temperature and the dew point will be getting right about the same, and that's when you start to have the fog. So when we have dew point, that measures that humidity that's in the air in the upper 60s, and we're expecting our low temperatures to be in the upper 60s, then you know there's going to be that possibility of fog. So that's something to keep in mind for later on this evening and very early again for tomorrow morning. Weather where you live, the thermometers across the area, Cypress still sitting at 80 degrees. Same thing for the folks in Sugar Land. Downtown Houston sitting at about 77, LaPorte's at 70, and Texas City at 68. So again, that humidity, that dew point of 68, that's why we've got the fog that's down in the Galveston Bay area, that dense marine fog advisory that's been for Galveston, all of Galveston Bay. That actually goes through noon tomorrow. I would expect to have dense fog advisories for the rest of us. We've got less than a quarter of a mile visibility for the city of Galveston right now. So we're continuing to deal with the fog and the warm temperatures for the entire state of Texas. It's 79 degrees right now for the folks up in the Panhandle, and that impact, that influence is going to stay with us again for tomorrow. So we've got our upper level dynamics keeping all of the cold air well to the north, and we'll be surging in basically what it feels like in the Gulf with warm and humid air for much of the central portions of the country. Christmas Day itself, we're going to start very mild, maybe some more fog again, like what we've seen yesterday and today. We get to the afternoon, we're going to be in the upper 70s, and our 7-day forecast, as we've been talking about through the week, we're going to be continuing to have about 80 degrees, give or take a little, and we'll get into the weekend. We start the same way, but we'll have a weak front over the weekend, and you'll notice some minor changes by the time we get to Sunday, and then some cooler air when we get into Monday, and it does look like we might even have some cooler air once we get closer in to New Year's Eve.
Well, still ahead, a U.S. automaker announcing a big recall. We'll tell you about the cars and trucks that need repairs.
All right, if you drive a Ford, you're going to want to listen to this. We have a consumer alert for you. Ford is recalling 270,000 vehicles because they could just roll away.
Yikes. Well, the recall impacts certain F-150 Lightning and Mustang Mach-E electric vehicles along with Ford Mavericks. From model years 2022 through this year, Ford says the issue can be fixed with a software update, which owners can get for free either over the air or at a dealership.
Well, if you own an above-ground pool, you need to double-check the brand before you use it. Federal safety regulators are recalling Blue Wave above-ground pools because straps on the outside can give kids a way to get in and potentially drown when parents aren't looking. The pools are sold nationwide between January of 2021 and July of 2023. Owners can contact Blue Wave for a free repair kit. Paramount and Skydance is not backing off its attempted hostile takeover of Warner Brothers Discovery.
Paramount announced this morning that this proposed merger will be fully backed by tech billionaire Larry Ellison. He is personally guaranteeing $40.5 billion of the equity financing for the deal. Ellison's son, David Ellison, is the CEO of Paramount. The board of Warner Brothers had recommended to shareholders to accept a deal from Netflix, saying it was better for its customers. Earlier this month, Warner agreed to sell its studio and streaming assets to Netflix. This was in a deal valued at roughly $83 billion.
The Trump administration is giving out cash this holiday season to illegal immigrants who choose to leave the U.S. on their own. That's all coming up.
With the holiday season here, I thought it would be fun to talk about gifting emergency preparedness supplies. Today, we'll take a look at some items perfect for stuffing the stockings. That's coming up on today's Emergency Gear Test.
We do want to take you back to that breaking news we've been following for you in Galveston Bay. The U.S. Coast Guard has confirmed that there were 8 people on board this small plane that went down in heavy fog on the bay.
That's right. Now, the crash happening near the causeway, and this is a map of where the emergency responders are set up. And that's where we find our Angie Rodriguez, who has been there for quite some time now. Angie, what are you noticing? Is visibility still pretty bad?
Yeah, Caroline, the visibility actually got a little bit better just about 30 minutes ago, but it seems to be picking up actually more now. So it is actually a lower visibility than we saw just in our 5 o'clock live shot. I do want to let you guys know some details while you take a look at the scene behind me. Still a lot of activity going on here, but we have been able to confirm that the plane was a Mexican Navy plane. The Secretary of Mexico actually put out a statement in regards to this crash. They said it was a medical flight with the Foundation Michoacán Mau, which helps children with severe burns be transported to hospitals. We do know this incident happened again here in Galveston. That's according to the statement that the Secretary of the Marine of Mexico put out. We do know in the statement, they continue to say that they activated protocols of search and rescue with local authorities. We do know that to be true as well, because since we've been here on scene, we've seen Galveston County Sheriff's Office, the dive team, bring out several of their boats here as well, the crime scene unit, drone unit, and patrol. Now, we were told originally someone from inside the plane actually called 911. The Coast Guard says the call came in at about 3:20 this afternoon, so just a couple of hours ago. And again, this happening all at the base of the causeway. We're still waiting for Texas DPS to make their way here on the scene. We do know Texas DPS and the FAA are the lead investigators, or the lead agencies of this investigation. Once they get here on scene, we will be bringing you more information on this as well as it continues to unfold. But again, just to update you on those details, 8 people confirmed to have been on that plane in the water. 3 of them were loaded into an ambulance, one of those being a small child. Back to you guys.
From what you can tell, is the search still going on for parts of this plane, obviously in Galveston Bay at the moment?
Yeah, so I did speak with 2 officers here with the Galveston County Sheriff's Office. They're still blocking off this area right behind me at the base of the causeway. So it appears there's still some type of investigation that they are continuing, whether they're looking for a plane or people, we're not really sure. We also aren't sure of the extent of those injuries. They weren't able to tell us what really is going on because they're waiting as well for Texas DPS to get here on scene to be able to officially break down some of those details.
Yeah, Angie, the FAA also will have to do an investigation. It's still a developing story, so if you learn any new information, we will certainly check back with you at fox26houston.com for the latest. Well, the last holiday travel rush of the year is now underway, and the TSA predicts it could be a record breaker. Fox's Amalia Roy is live from Sky Harbor International Airport in Phoenix. Hi, Amalia.
Hi, good evening. And yes, here we've seen people coming through in waves. There are some times throughout the day where you see a lot of flights landing at once and the baggage carousels downstairs get pretty crowded. You also see waves of people going through the security lines, but they do move through pretty quickly. So if you look behind me, we're in one of those lulls right now. I had a chance to speak with some people about their travel holiday plans, and the ones arriving, they said they're excited for a sunny Christmas in Arizona.
In from Cleveland, so I left 20 degrees and I'm loving the sunshine here.
We are seeing some delays and cancellations at airports across the country. Friday was the roughest day for air travelers so far, with 11,656 delays and 865 cancellations.
Genuinely horrible. Our flight was for like 7 a.m. We didn't get to board till like 8:30. And then we sat on the plane for like 30 minutes until we actually took off. And then we landed and we were stuck on the plane for another like 20 minutes and could not get off. So I would say pretty horrible. Pretty horrible.
According to AAA, more than 122 million people will travel at least 50 miles from home for the holidays. The vast majority, nearly 110 million, will drive. 8 million are expected to fly domestically, and that would break a record for year-end air travel. Then nearly 5 million will take some other form of transportation. The TSA says it's the Sunday after Christmas that's going to be the busiest, with nearly 3 million people passing through security checkpoints across the country. In Phoenix, Amalia Roy, Fox 26 News.
Amalia, I know you travel a lot for your job. Will you be doing any personal travel, though, for the holiday to be with family?
I'm doing something that my family is not very happy with. I am driving home from Phoenix. I live in the Bay Area in California. It's about a 13-hour drive when you include breaks, and they're wondering why I'm choosing to do it. And it's because of that. I travel so much, I fly so much, I love it. But the second it got into my head that I could drive, I couldn't shake it. So I'm just going to do it.
You are brave. I've done that drive from California to Arizona before. It is long. Good luck and stay safe.
Thank you.
All right. Well, the Trump administration is giving people here in the U.S. illegally more incentive to leave the country on their own before immigration agents catch up with them.
Fox's Alexandra Hoff is going to explain how those people could actually get paid to leave.
It's home for the holidays seasons.
The Trump administration wants to help migrants reunite with their families. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announcing her department is tripling the incentive for illegal aliens to leave voluntarily before the end of the year.
We'll buy you a ticket, give you $3,000 to go home, and that includes people that have not been detained, maybe have interacted with us, are detained and don't have criminal charges against them.
The holiday incentive comes as the Trump administration increasingly cracks down on those who enter the country illegally and programs allowing people to come to the U.S. legally. After 2 National Guard soldiers were shot in Washington, D.C. by an Afghan national, the White House suspended all active asylum claims. And following last week's shooting at Brown and MIT universities, officials suspended the visa lottery program that allowed that gunman to come to the U.S.
We need to do away with the lottery system, not put it on pause, and have an immigration system that, quite frankly, Brian, brings in the best and the brightest.
Yeah. Democrats and the courts have pushed back against President Trump's immigration action since he returned to office, and now church officials are even speaking out.
People are to be respected and treated with dignity, whether they are documented or undocumented, whether they are here legally or illegally.
Congress created the now suspended visa lottery program back in 1990 as a way to give people from countries underrepresented in the U.S. a chance to come here. In Washington, Alexandria Hoff, Fox News.
Well, with today being another peak travel day, we're going to take a look at the different types of travelers. Find out which category applies to you and why. The future is looking brighter for the movie industry. A new report from Cinema United says Gen Z is choosing to go to the movies more often than any other generation. The report also shows what Gen Z is looking for in their theater experience. They say the immersive experience and unique concessions are their highest priorities.
Now I want some popcorn. All right, what kind of traveler are you? Talker Research says generally there are 5 types of travelers. The mastermind, who enjoys planning. Thrill seeker, who likes to explore. Vacay scouts, who live for the day. And a connoisseur, who is in charge of the food. And then floaters, who are literally just there. Despite the different types, all agree the trips must stay under budget. And the first day is always meant for a balance of napping and exploring your location. Rashi, I feel like you're kind of a floater sometimes when it comes to your Disney trips.
I know. Yes, put me on blast for that.
Yes,
yeah.
Like going with the flow. I'm a mastermind like
yes.
your husband when it comes to that.
Yes, definitely.
All right, now let's switch gears now. We have a serious news update. The Coast Guard confirms 3 people have died in the plane crash in Galveston Bay that we have been following. You can see that dense fog. We don't know if that played any type of role in this now deadly crash. We do know that there were 8 people on board. We'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Happy Monday. I'm Anthony Antoine. Coming up at 6 o'clock on your news at 6. Here we go for our TikTok conversation here today. One of many conversations. Nicki Minaj, she's going viral, not for her music, but for taking the stage at a Turning Point USA event here this past weekend alongside Erica Kirk, the widow of the late Charlie Kirk. So folks are now chiming in about this because Nicki Minaj is someone who criticized the president. Now she's praising him. I'm on TikTok, Anthony TV News. Meet me there. We'll talk about this story and so many other developments happening here today. We'll see you there.
Well, we know that many companies, they've started using dynamic pricing, which is setting prices for things higher or lower, all depending on demand.
So how do you know when prices are at their lowest so that you can snap up some savings? Consumer reporter Heather Sullivan has some smart sense on the best times to shop.
So an analysis by Dakota reveals the best times to buy a variety of things. So Gabrielle Vitke joins us from Dakota right now with their analysis. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me, Heather. So interestingly, we did find out that the pricing tends to vary throughout categories, obviously. However, we did notice that October is absolutely the worst month to shop for all of the categories that we track.
Interesting.
As most of the retailers basically start gradually increasing the prices before the Black Friday discounts.
Wow. Well, let's break it down because you guys poured over prices from 37 U.S. retailers. So this was very thorough. What did you find out about appliances?
Absolutely. So much like you mentioned, we analyzed over 800,000 prices. So that's quite a handful. When it comes to different categories, so for example, electronics, we did see that November, which is Black Friday month, is the best month to shop overall for the category, as well as January, which is basically the Boxing Day and post-holiday pricing. And when it comes to more granular, like days of the week and times, we do see that Thursdays, 4 a.m. have the lowest medium prices. And some alternative sweet spots would be Thursday morning and just in general midweek early mornings. And like I've mentioned, some times to avoid would be October, which is the pre-Black Friday peak, as well as Thursday evenings and surprisingly weekend mornings.
Interesting. Well, let's talk about electronics because those are hot. So when's a good time to buy electronics or when should we avoid it?
Yeah, so this applies to all categories. Black Friday month is quite a good month to buy basically anything online. However, one more thing that if we were to give a piece of advice to viewers, one more thing to keep in mind is that make sure to compare prices across platforms because they can differ between different retailers, different marketplaces. So even for the same price, you can end up paying different prices. So again, for electronics, Black Friday month is a good month, as well as post-holiday pricing.
What about clothing for men and women? What did you find there?
This one's quite interesting because it tends to differ between men and women. So for example, for women's apparel, we do see that January, which is normally the winter clearance month, is the best month to buy in general. And the best day and time would be Sunday around noon, 1 p.m., sorry. And in terms of men's apparel, again, January is quite fine, but November is also good to buy men's apparel.
Okay, these are some really good insights. We need to be very strategic when we do our shopping. Gabrielle Vitke with Dakota, thanks so much for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, our weather spotlight, getting some skiing in. But here's what's a little bit different. Usually we're looking at scenes from Colorado this time of the year, but the state of Washington, Snoqualmie, is excited because they get to open tomorrow. Yeah, they're opening tomorrow. Now, this is going to be fairly near Seattle. You'll remember that atmospheric river that caused all that flooding across that part of the country, that far northwest? Well, in the higher elevations, like what we have in Snoqualmie, it turns into snow. They got over 22 inches of snow last week. That gave them a good solid base. They've got more on the way in the forecast, and so that's going to be meaning that they're already open for limited operations, and then they're going to just be waiting for some more. Like I said, that's in the forecast for this week. So let's talk about the travel forecast. I've got some areas highlighted here where weather could be impacting travel. Wintry precipitation is going to be the problem to the northeast of the country. Over on the west coast, though, it's all about that rain. much of the state of California is going to be dealing with rain issues and could be some flooding. That was Tuesday. Today we've got now I got Wednesday up here, and we're really focused just on the west coast. That wintry precipitation shouldn't be a concern when we get to the mid portions of the week, and that's mainly going to be rain, and then some of that in the higher elevations will be snow. So if you're flying, if you're driving, you know somebody it is, that's kind of what we're going to be dealing with. This warm pattern that we've really started a couple days ago, we're still going to be locked into for tomorrow. Just warm air from the Gulf because of upper level dynamics able to kind of seep its way all the way into the mid portions of the country. And it's going to be warm and relatively quiet for much of the country. And that means good for traveling. We do have some of that wintry precipitation going on right now into the northwest. And I talked about that rain that's out into the west coast. This atmospheric river has now kind of slid south a little bit to whereas the last week or so, it was the state of Washington and Oregon and Northern California. Well, we're still kind of in Northern California, but this green shading is that flood advisory, that flood watch that I was talking about. Sun getting set, starting to set here across the Galleria area. Got a little bit of some sun that's been able to pop in here at the end of the day, kind of warm things up. It's still 77 degrees in downtown Houston. Our dew points are very high, around 69. Remember, when the air temperature and the dew point get the same, that's when we have the fog, and that's what's happening down in Galveston Island. We have half a mile visibility. We have a dense fog advisory just for the coastal areas, so Bolivar Peninsula as well as Galveston Island under that dense fog advisory. I expect that to expand and impact more folks later in the overnight hours. We are going to be looking at temperatures much like what we saw today coming up again for the next couple of days. Our mornings is very mild. Upper 60s is what we're looking at. When we look at Christmas Eve, we're going to be 79 in the afternoon. Christmas Day, 80 in the afternoon. We have minor changes once we get into the weekend. We get to cool down just a little bit, back closer to some normal temperatures. More Fox 26 News coming up after this break.
This newscast is brought to you by Advanced Hair Restoration, Houston's simple one-day hair loss treatment.
Well, next year is right around the corner, and fireworks are now on sale across Texas. It is worth remembering that it is illegal to set off fireworks within city limits. You should also make sure not to light fireworks near anybody's house or flammable materials. If you get caught setting off fireworks in Houston, you could face up to a $2,000 fine per firework.
Dang. Well, in the spirit of the holidays, Mattress Mac and the Gallery Furniture team teamed up with Poncho Claus to spread holiday cheer, and the gifts are ready to be distributed to children all across Houston. They will keep taking toy donations throughout January 26th.
Even in the holiday season, meteorologist John Dawson is thinking about emergency preparedness.
So on today's emergency gear test, he wants to remind us that emergency supplies is a gift that keeps on giving the whole year.
I always say that the off season of hurricane season is the best time to purchase your supplies, and they're also a great gift idea for that hard to shop for person. So on today's emergency gear test, we're focused on stocking stuffers. I've gathered some items that don't take up too much space, and they're not that expensive. Nothing on the table here is more than $60, and each one represents one of the 5 universal categories that should be in everyone's plans. Food and water top every preparedness list. I want you to have a battery-powered light source like a flashlight or a lantern. Your cell phone will need charging when the power gets knocked out, and make certain you have a first aid kit. Now, don't get too focused on these specific brands. I want you to get some ideas that could best help your specific needs. For food, I've selected the Survival Mode Emergency Ration Bars from Roundhouse Provisions. Each bar is supposed to deliver the calories and nutrients of a full meal. There's no preparation, and it has a shelf life of 5 years. Now, the Life Straw is the most popular personal outdoor water filtration device on the market. The Peak Series straw will clean 1,000 gallons of water, but it is advised to get one for each member of your group. Now, I tell people to purchase an LED flashlight in a package that includes batteries, and that's exactly what we have here with the Magellan LED headlamp and flashlight set. I recommend to not even take it out of the package. Store it just like this with your emergency supplies. It's harder to get misplaced, and the batteries will always be fresh. Charge your phone or other devices with the Quadra Pro Solar Power Bank from Survival Frog. This battery holds 8,000 milliamp hours. There are going to be 2 USB ports, plus it has a wireless charger as well. Now, I pulled this first aid kit out of the Uncharted Supply Company 72 Pro Survival System. It'll have all the bandages that you need, and I like the fact that it has the scissors and the eye wash, and you should look for organization like this in any first aid kit that you want to purchase. As always, I have lots more shopping ideas on my YouTube channel. In the search bar, type in Hurricane Gear Test or Meteorologist John Dawson.
And I love the hat.
Yeah, it's so festive.
All right, well, grab your phone, log onto your socials. Anthony Antoine coming up next.
And you can interact with him about today's big trending stories. So log on your social media and join in the convo.
You're watching the News Edge Early Edition.
Good evening and thanks for joining me. I'm Anthony Antoine. Welcome to your news here at 6 o'clock. You know how we do. This is the show where it is conversational between me and you. I'm going to read the stories and we're reading your comments on TikTok. We are live right now, Anthony TV News. So let's take a look at some of the big stories here that we're following. A lot of people are giving Nicki Minaj a bit of a side eye after she makes an appearance at a Turning Point USA convention here this weekend and had a discussion with Erica Kirk, the wife of the late Charlie Kirk. Plus, did 60 Minutes pull a story from last night's show for political reasons? Well, first, breaking news here tonight, though. We want to get to that. A small plane from Mexico carrying burn victims crashed in Galveston Bay near the causeway, and we just got word some on board have now died. Fox 26's Angie Rodriguez live from the island with some more details here. Angie.
Yeah, Anthony, a lot of new details have been confirmed by the Coast Guard. Like you said, several people have died as a result of this plane crash. I want you to go ahead and take a look at the scene right now. Still very active, and it has been for at least the past hour, hour and a half that we've been here on scene. Galveston County has been here on scene telling us some updates as to what's going on. We have been able to confirm that that plane was a Mexican Navy plane that had about 8 people on board. It was a medical flight from La Fundación Micho y Mao, which is a foundation that helps transport child burn victims. We do want you to take a look at this video on your screen. It shows the scene a little bit earlier in the day where you can see a little bit of that low visibility that seemed to have could have been a factor to this plane crash. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but that is what it seems to be. We are learning, again, new information. We're waiting for Texas DPS to get here on scene, as DPS and the FAA are the lead agencies that are investigating this incident. This is the absolute latest confirmation that we have. So again, we do know about 8 people were on board. This was a medical flight from a Mexican Navy plane, and several people are dead as a result. We'll bring you the latest on Fox Local, both on air and online. In Galveston, Angie Rodriguez, Fox 26 News.
Angie, before you go, can you just talk a little bit about the scene? You've been there for a couple of hours now. How has that scene changed at all as day has now turned into night, which I would imagine make those search efforts very difficult?
Yeah, I can imagine too, because we have seen a couple more vehicles pull up. We actually saw, and I want you to take a look behind me, this bus here actually is supposed to be one of the ones that helps firefighters. The temperatures drop just a little bit because of that low visibility. That's part of the reason as to why these temperatures are dropping here in this area. It appears we're seeing a stretcher being brought out with towels from EMS, so it looks like they're probably going to be staying here for a while when it comes to officers and officials on scene. A lot of sirens still on. We do know that this end of the causeway is actually closed off to the public. We're being told by officials to let the public know not to be in this area, but the exit here is still completely open for those that live in this area. I do want to let you know that the exit here off of Broadway Street is still open. If you live in this area or maybe worked in this area or on your way home, that exit is still open. But again, the end of the causeway is really what is being closed off as a part of the investigation. Once we learn more information, like I said, we're waiting for Texas DPS to get here on scene. They're going to be able to kind of update us when it comes to the injuries of those who remained out of the 8 people about that we are learning were on that plane, aside from the 3 that were taken in an ambulance and the several that we know died. So a lot of information still coming out of the investigation.
All right, Angie, really quickly, just to confirm, the search efforts continue right now, right? There are still people, search and rescue efforts, the folks on the boats, and they're out there in the water trying to make some recoveries here.
It looks like it right now. We've seen a lot of dive teams still out here. We actually saw a couple make their way from the causeway from the end over here. We saw them pull out, but it seems as though they come out and they come back in. So it looks like they're just trying to maybe switch crews. As you said, it went from day to night, so that could also be affecting this investigation. But as of right now, it still seems that they are searching this area.
All right, Angie, stay active, stay asking questions. We'll get back to you. If you got any new information, let us know. We'll put you right back on the air. All right, tonight, investigators are also working. Matter of fact, we're going to go to meteorologist John Dawson here for a look at the forecast. And John, JD, I want to talk to you a little bit here about the fog too. So we don't know the cause of the crash, but in that area, you know, the search and rescue efforts, the big story we were talking about has been the fog. There's a marine fog advisory for Galveston.
Yeah, you're right, Anthony. We can't make any conclusions that this was, definitely impacted by weather, but we do know that the flight path of the plane was flying across Galveston Bay, where we did have a marine dense fog advisory that had been issued, and it was trying to land at the airport there in Galveston. That was the flight plan, at least. And so there's a lot of questions, obviously, but this fog that's out there is certainly impacting the rescue efforts. They're dealing with hard visibility. It's less than half a mile visibility, and when you get out there on the water, I'm sure it's even thicker than that. And so this, and with the night now falling, that's going to make it even more difficult. Now, this fog has just been confined to the coast, but we'll see that fog spread a little bit further inland in the overnight hours. Temperatures are the other issues that we've been dealing with here across the Houston area. Officially, Intercontinental Airport set a record high temperature today. Same thing, Hobby Airport set a record high temperature today. We're going to be near record highs really as we move through the rest of the week. Look for more fog in the morning and in the overnight hours. This warm pattern is going to carry all the way through Christmas Day, but a little bit of changes to talk about when we get into the weekend. We'll dive into all those details coming up.
All right, next, another big story here trending on Fox26Houston.com. So investigators are working to determine what happened to two people found dead in separate Houston bayous. Karis Belger has been following this story for us. She's joining us now live near Brays Bayou. So Karis, have police indicated whether these two incidents are related at all?
They have not. And just to give you a little more context for where I am, I'm near the University of Houston, just off Old Spanish Trail. That first body was found not far from where I'm standing. It was actually on the rocks near the water of the bayou, not on the bayou specifically. That second body was found closer to downtown Houston. That was the second call that Houston police received today. Take a look at this video from that location to give you a few more details. This video was taken near Crawford and Elysian. And when Fox 26 arrived on scene, multiple Houston police units were present. Investigators were working to piece together what exactly happened. They were speaking with people in the area, and this was the latest body that has been found in a Houston area bayou. A lot of the people police were interviewing are in fact unhoused. Investigators are now tasked with determining both who these individuals are and also what may have happened to them. And that process can be challenging. In the past, when Fox 26 has covered these stories, investigators have mentioned that the water from the bayou can cause a body to decompose at a more advanced rate. That makes it even harder when they're trying to figure out what exactly happened.
All right, for this story, has been trending on our website here today. Two bodies found in the bayou you mentioned, but how many have been found here so far this year?
Well, the two who were found today bring that total now to 33. Of course, we've been covering this story extensively for quite some time. Now, police have not determined who exactly these people were, what exactly their circumstances were, but I did mention they were speaking to some unhoused people at another scene today. And it has been mentioned in the past by officials that we've talked to that sometimes unhoused people, instead of calling the authorities, will, when someone has passed away, let that person go into the bayou instead of calling the police or other sort of authority figures. Near Brays Bayou, I'm Karis Belger for Fox 26 News.
And everybody, welcome Karis. That is our newest reporter here at the station. That is day one on air. Good job following a tragic story. All right, let's check in with TikTok really quickly here. See what you guys are saying. Ashley says this is very scary. She says something definitely isn't right. I feel these cases are related. Again, as of right now, we don't know if they are or not. All right. Another person says something does not smell right. Again, something doesn't sound right. They should do some more investigating. I think it depends upon how they determine the cause of death between these two. Talking about the medical examiner's office. Could it just be a dumping ground for bodies? Okay, let's dive into that a little bit here, Lisa. Okay, so when this first started going viral across the country, the mayor, the police chief, remember that press conference they called? And they wanted to let folks know that there is no serial killer here in Houston, they said. And at the time, they mentioned that some of these people being identified are unhoused or are homeless, right? And this is something that could be a place where instead of trying to go somewhere, if they pass away, their bodies are being disposed of in the water because they may not have any friends or family in the area or next of kin. So those are just some of the things that have been kind of floating around from officials. There is no serial killer, according to the mayor and all the officials, but it is concerning whenever you find these bodies in the bayous nonetheless. But to what Karis was saying, at that location, at least one of those locations, it was a place where several people who are unhoused would live. All right, let's keep it moving here. Mickey's Soul Food Cafe, they're dealing with some major damage tonight after a very troubling couple of incidents. They had more than one, right? So at one of their locations in Houston, a car slamming into another, leaving owners cleaning up and asking for support from the community. Leslie Delaspore is joining us from West Belfort with the latest on this. Leslie.
Yeah, that's right, Anthony. I want you to take a look at this. A car plowed through the front of Mickey's Cafe here on West Belfort. But this happened just days before their Third Ward location on Blodgett was burglarized. But I spoke with the owners today about what happened here. Take a listen to what they had to say.
So actually I was doing Christmas shopping and my GM called me and she was like, I don't want to tell you. I'm like, no, just come on. And she was like, somebody just ran through the dining room at the restaurant. So basically the woman, she had not had sleep in about 2 to 3 days. Her husband was in the hospital. So she was coming here to get something to eat and she came through the parking lot and it's like she turned perfectly, but she never broke and went straight through the building. It was mostly the framework that had the most damage. The other things could be picked up, swept up, pushed to the side, but the outside was mainly like what was messed up.
So take us inside and tell us a little bit about how you clearly revamped it, and you can't even tell that a car came through here.
We had some, ceiling issues as far as the tile, but that'll be replaced. The step and repeat was here. We had our girl Sherry come out. She's our decorator, and she put up the curtain for us and put the balloons. This, if you see in the video, was all the way up there. She just put it back together and just, made it comfortable because it just comes with the territory. If something is bound to go wrong. It's just, are you willing and equipped to go ahead and get it done and fix it and not let it knock you down?
And I know it sounds vanilla, but if you stop and you dwell on things, you'll never get to that next step.
I don't think we're being targeted necessarily as far as the community, more so our endurance and our faith and just keeping pushing on. Things happen, accidents happen, and like in Third Ward, that wasn't an accident, but it still was a test.
If anybody knows me and my sister and our family history, we don't have a history of trying to get attention. That's never been our aim or focus in this business.
Now, both of the owners tell me Monday someone will be here to fix the windows and the framework that you see that's messed up. But it's been business as usual. And HPD says at this time no one has been arrested, but the investigation into the burglary at the Third Ward location is ongoing. Anthony, back to you.
We'll be right back. Conservative leaders gathered over the weekend to honor the late Charlie Kirk at Turning Point USA's America Fest in Arizona. One of the biggest surprises at the convention, Nicki Minaj. This was the moment she took center stage here alongside Erica Kirk, the wife of Charlie Kirk. Nicki Minaj has changed her tune quite a bit, though, when it comes to President Trump. She was being very critical of him in years past, mostly over his immigration policies. But now she is praising the Trump administration.
What is something that you want to leave as a legacy in this world for your family, for your baby, for just everything?
That it's okay to change your mind. Yeah. It's okay to change your mind. You don't have to, you know, sometimes there's a lot of things projected onto you when you change your own mind. You know, they project fear, shame to people who don't think and do as they think and do.
All right, in that conversation, she said a lot more, so go check it out if you want to see some more of that. But she also mocked California Governor Gavin Newsom, calling him a new scum, which is something President Trump has said time and time again. All right, let's get to TikTok, see what you guys think about this one. Princess Diana says, Queen Nikki with the crowns. Ali says, I applaud her. Miss Davis, she is just their new play toy until they can't use her anymore. Vernon says, anything for attention. CB says she looks fabulous. There you go. Nikki, CB says you look good. Another person says people have issues. Nothing wrong with what Nikki stands for. Opinions change. Duh. I think we could all agree on that. Opinions change one way or the other. This is just where she currently stands, and she felt, ready to talk. So she did that. What else? We got one more here. How do we know if she is actually being sincere or not? We're never going to know, quite frankly. Another person says traitor to her fans. Now, the Barbs are not too happy about this, but I got a feeling they ain't going nowhere for the most part, because if they're a fan of Nikki, they're 9 times out of 10 going to stand beside her. Robin says to each their own. And then Millie says she's faking it. She should just go back to making music, not politics. So lots of discussion around Nicki Minaj here, but nonetheless, the event happened. Go check it out if you want to learn some more. All right, still to come. Here we go. 60 Minutes. There's an uproar over whether or not the news editor-in-chief, Bari Weiss, and her decision to pull a 60-minute segment about the brutal El Salvador prison, CICOT, where the Trump administration has been deporting Venezuelan immigrants. So the segment was promoted publicly on Friday. This is the video from that by the network, but it was pulled abruptly before last night's broadcast. The reporter who filed this report, her name is Sharon Alfonsi, she claims the story getting pulled was not an editorial decision, but a political one. She wrote a very extensive email. So Bari Weiss, the new editor over there at 60 Minutes, she reportedly said that the story wasn't ready and left out comment and perspective from administration officials. Now, Alfonsi says she did her due diligence. She reached out to the White House, but never got a response. CBS News told Fox News Digital that the 60 Minutes report on Inside CICOT will air in a future broadcast. When? We don't know. All right, keeping this right here moving. What else we got? We got to go to weather. JD? Oh, yeah, you're rolling it. Oh, this is your first time.
I've not been over here.
This your first time.
Well, yeah, you got to tell me where to stick it.
Oh, well, usually it's over here, switch.
I know.
But here we go. Here we go.
Okay.
So we're live on TikTok right now.
That's why I'm here.
All right. So folks will want to know, and they'll ask some questions. If you guys have questions weather related for JD, ask away. But in the meantime,
do I talk to any of these other cameras, or do I just
this is the main camera. This is the main camera. This is the main right here. But they chime in from time to time. All right.
I'm talking about travel first. We're going to touch on the fog because the fog's been such a huge deal. But I'm talking about travel first. But I want to start with tomorrow. These yellow areas are areas of concern. We got wintry precipitation. Over here, it's more of a flooding situation. That atmospheric river that's been around for a week or so, still creating quite a bit of flood.
Seattle got hit really hard with some of that, right?
Yeah, totally. And we got more of that happening. So that's tomorrow. Let me switch to Wednesday. That wintry precipitation is going away for Wednesday. So that's better as we're getting close, right? That's Christmas Eve on Wednesday. But we're still concerned with all that rain, higher elevations. It's the snow that it's turned into. So that's what the travel's looking like. Temperatures, this is going to be a huge part of the country that has mild weather, or on the mild as far as stormy weather, not looking for stormy, but definitely going to be on the warm side of thing. We're right in the middle of all that.
And we are way above seasonable. Well, seasonable is like, what, 60 something?
Yeah, 60, mid-60s is where we normally are. So here's the current radar. So we still have some of that snow and a wintry mix happening to the northeast right now. So again, that's a bit of concern as far as the travel. On the west coast, it's that rain that we're talking about. This green shading is a flood watch, basically, for the whole state of California. And all that rain is really kind of coming in. More of the San Francisco area than the Los Angeles area, but still a possibility that could kind of spread out a little bit more. Galleria area, that's a place that I'm trying to stay away from right now. All the shopping, right? I need to stay away from all that shopping, but we got plenty of humidity out there with our dew points in the mid-60s. Temperatures about 74 degrees. Have you got all your shopping done?
I did.
Oh, that's good.
I'm proud of me. I'm proud of me.
I got one store I got to make a trip to tomorrow morning, but it's just kind of a bonus thing. It's not really all that important. But here's that fog that we're talking about. Notice it's all confined down to the coast right now, and with the winds continuing to lighten in the overnight hours and the temperatures dropping, we will see the fog probably move up closer into the downtown Houston. Did you see any fog this morning?
Early this morning, yeah, a little bit, for sure.
Yeah, and you're into the Houston area. You're like me. You're away from the coast a little bit. Definitely dealing with that. Record high temperatures. We set those at Hobby Airport, which is the 83, and Bush Intercontinental Airport as well. Anybody like this hot weather?
Well, they're saying they blame Santa's delivery delays on the weather.
No, you can't. It's too. Let's see, sweating in that hat of his, right? That's the only thing we're really dealing with. Mild mornings. I'm going to skip past that. Get right to Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Near records once again. So the 7-day forecast, notice that we're locked in until the weekend. Finally, minor changes, just a little bit. That's more normal, right? When we get to Monday, we'll get a little bit closer to normal.
All right, JD, thank you. You know, they say here, you're invited to all the cookouts.
I like the cookouts.
Hey, come on now, brother. All right, we'll take a quick break and come back.
This newscast is brought to you by CenterPoint Energy, building the nation's most resilient coastal grid.
All right, you guys, I want to give you one last look here at this breaking news happening in Galveston. We continue to follow this yet around 3:20 today is when we got word of a plane crash in here. About 3 hours later, we now know it was a Mexican military aircraft, 8 people on board. 3 of them are dead. We know 3 others are in the hospital, 2 adults and a young child. Their current condition, we do not know. Still a very active scene here. Rescue efforts still trying to take place. We'll be right back with more news at 6. All right, y'all, let's wrap up the show. At 7 o'clock, we got Name That Tune. At 8 o'clock, we got The Weakest Link. Goodbye. Not really. Stay tuned. I'll be here on your news at 9. We got rescue crews. They are rushing in Galveston to try to triage as much of the situation as possible. We had a plane crash, 8 people on board. 3 of them have died. So we'll continue to follow that here live. Tonight at 9 o'clock, we have Andrew Rodriguez on the ground. So thanks as always. Hey, give me the follow on TikTok, Anthony TV News. And then, you guys can join in the conversation. I'll see you tonight at 9.
Welcome to Houston Live and Local. We are continuing to follow that deadly plane crash that happened over at Galveston Bay near the Galveston Causeway. Unfortunately, we have found out that 3 people have died. The identities have not been revealed yet. We do know that there were a total of 8 people that were on board that aircraft. Our Angie Rodriguez is live near the scene. So Angie, I know you've been there for a little while. What have you learned?
Yeah, Rashi, a lot of the same details just coming out. We were actually trying to speak with Texas DPS that is currently here on the scene, but they just referred us to the FAA. So it seems like they might be switching over who the lead agency in charge of this investigation might be. But I want you guys to take a look at this going on behind me, because it's been going on for the past hour, hour and a half, 2 hours that we've been here. The call first came in about a plane that had crashed around 2:30 this afternoon. We have been able to confirm, like you said, 8 people were on board and that several are now dead per the Coast Guard. We do know as well that this was a Mexican plane from the Fundación Micho y Mau, which is a foundation that helps child burn victims. So this was a medical flight on its way south. We do know as well that Texas DPS and FAA were investigating this. It seems like they're still here on scene. We're trying to learn more information. So just to recount what happened earlier today, on your screen you'll see some video that shows that low visibility that we were experiencing earlier today. It's not as bad now as it was earlier, but we do know that is what could have been a possible factor in this. Galveston County Sheriff's Office, the dive team, crime scene unit, drone unit, and patrol, as well as several other agencies here on scene continuing to investigate. Again, we were told someone actually from inside the plane had made that call to 911 at around 3:20 in the afternoon. And like I said, this happened near the base of the causeway. This is all continuing to unfold. We're still waiting for Texas DPS to give us more information, but like I said, we gave them a call earlier and they referred us to the FAA, so it seems like they might be switching over. If we do get that confirmed, we'll let you know. We're actually just learning now as well that it appears that a hospital will be sending out a statement in a bit, so if we get that statement, we will keep you guys updated both on air and online as well.
Well, Angie, I was going to ask you, I know that you haven't been able to get so much information from investigators there, but have there been people who have been trying to get into the area? Because I know a lot of it has been blocked off.
Yeah, it's actually been pretty good when it comes to people getting to this area. I feel like we were able to come on air pretty early, around 4:45 this afternoon, to let the public know not to come near this area. Broadway Street and the exit for Broadway Street is still open in this area, and this section isn't closed off until right behind me here at the end of the causeway. But this entire road is filled with patrol cars and different types of fire departments and everyone here on scene with their sirens on. So not a lot of people have actually been coming up here. They've been pretty good at just letting the investigators do their job.
Galveston County has also been active on their Facebook page, telling people to be away from that scene so they can continue their investigation. All right, Angie, thank you for that live report there. And one of the big concerns that we've had is the fog and the visibility. Now, we don't know if that's the cause of the crash, but we do know that definitely low visibility in that area earlier today.
Yes, for sure. We had marine dense fog advisory all day today. It's still in effect now. It actually goes until noon tomorrow. So that plane was having to travel through an area where we know that there was fog. Again, not sure if it was directly related to the problems that it incurred, but for sure the rescue operations were. We had that video of the boats that just kind of disappear into the fog as they kind of leave land. So let's start with a TrendStar camera if we can. This is what it looks like from the causeway. So remember, the causeway hasn't been shut down. It's open as far as the bridge that connects the mainland to Galveston Island, and it's a little bit hard to see the cars coming towards you. That's because of the fog. Normally you'd be able to see that much further away, much further down the road there, as they would be able to kind of come back at you more. So So it's a little bit harder to tell in the dark, but definitely limited visibility from the causeway. We switched to our weather graphics now, and you can see that in Galveston Island, there's a half-mile visibility. And even now, we're beginning to see some impacts up in Pearland and Leak City. The 10-mile visibility is when there's no obstruction. That's when there's perfect visibility. And then when you start getting lower in numbers, that's when the fog gets thicker. Basically, a mile or less is what you would know to have to change the way you're driving. That's when it really gets thick. So that half mile is certainly going to be something to deal with down in Galveston. And we are expecting more fog across our area this evening. So while it does look fog-free in the Galleria area with our tower cam here, we're certainly going to look at the possibilities of that changing in the overnight hours, and that'll be possibly fog in the morning. South-southeast winds around 10 miles an hour, keeping the humidity high. High temperatures today. We set record high temperatures at both Houston Hobby as well as Intercontinental Airport. Plenty of 80s across the board there. Normally, we're mid-60s is where we find our high temperatures, and you can look here at the forecasted low temperatures. We are only going to be in the mid-60s in the overnight hours. So when we look at possible travel concerns, we switch to the west coast for the rain. We look at the northeast because of frozen precipitation. We switch to, that was Tuesday, this is Wednesday. It's mainly going to be confined to the west. So if you've got some folks traveling, there's good portions of the country that won't be impacted. And we look for the warm air to really seep in because of upper level dynamics keeping much of the country well above average. Quick look here where there is some snow happening right now in the northeast, and there's quite a bit of rain happening over on the west coast. That green shading is pretty much for the whole state of California and then some. That is a flood watch that's in effect because of all the rain. All right, let's skip to the Christmas forecast. Christmas Eve afternoon, in other words, day, 79 was the forecasted high. The record is 82. Christmas Day in the afternoon, I'm expecting to hit 80 degrees once again. Now, we haven't been nearly this warm in the last several years. And last year before that, 2022, all high temperatures, 50s or 60s. We were 80 degrees back in 2021, and then if you want to go all the way back to 2015, that's when the record high of 83 degrees was set. So we're locked into the warm pattern. We'll be looking for the fog in the mornings. We'll be looking for about 80 degrees in the afternoon. Slight changes, Rashi, when we get to the weekend. There'll be a weak front that kind of brings us some elevated rain chances. When I say elevated, I'm trying to make it sound more than it is. Basically, a 30% chance that we could have some rain once we get to the end of the weekend.
So it'll be a little muggy.
They're going to keep muggy in the forecast as well.
All right. Thank you, JD.
Yep.
We'll be right back. All right, something that got a lot of people talking this, actually today on social media, Nicki Minaj. So she met up with Charlie Kirk's widow for a Turning Point USA event that happened over in Arizona. And if you missed it, let's take a listen to some of that conversation.
And for young men, don't be new scum. Yes, see, dear young men, you have amazing role models like our handsome, dashing president. And you have amazing role models like the assassin J.D. Vance, our vice president. And when I say that,
trust me, there's nothing new under the sun that I have not heard, so you're fine. Yes, we did. I love you. I love you. You have to laugh about it, truly. I have been called every single thing, and you know what? God is so good, you let it roll right off your back. And this is what's so beautiful about this moment, because if the internet wants to clip it, who cares? I love this woman. She's an amazing woman. She has a soul and a heart for the Lord, and words are words, but I know her heart, and it doesn't even matter. And you say what you want to say because I know your heart. I will not judge that.
Sister. Thank you. For boys, be boys.
Amen.
Be boys. It's okay. Be boys. It's nothing wrong with being a boy.
Amen.
How about that?
Amen.
How powerful is that? How profound is that?
Amen.
Boys will be boys, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
What's something the media and the world in general misunderstands about you?
Oh, I think people think maybe that I'm mean, or, maybe when you have a strong presence as a woman, it's easy to just box you into one box, one category of mean or, other words.
They want to put you in a box to be able to label you what they want you to be, but you're so much more than that.
Because you intimidate them, and they want to find something. And if they can't find something, they'll make something up.
They will.
And so they'll put a label on you. But, it doesn't, what people misunderstand about me now, I don't care about it. I really don't. In fact, I love that they misunderstand me now.
I do too, because it shows that you're not a part of this world. Someone once told me, do not be surprised when the world acts like the world. And I held on to that so much, because even being in this role now, they're trying to figure me out. Okay, enjoy. I am who I am.
All right. Well, now let's change gears to Mayor-elect for the city of New York. We're talking about Zohran Mamdani. So he spoke earlier about the city's lack of affordability in New York City earlier today. And we do know that he will be sworn in as mayor on January 1st, and he will be sworn in by Senator Bernie Sanders and New York Attorney General Letitia James. So let's hear from him.
New Yorkers often associate government with an irrelevance to their day-to-day struggles, associated with the possibility only of meager results, small ideas, and even smaller follow-through, agendas that are quicker to say no rather than eager to get to yes. I want to write a different story from our City Hall, a story of ambition, of reinvention, where working people know that they have fierce champions at every level of government and know that they can turn to those fortunate enough to serve them. Few agencies hold transformative power more than DCWP and are more ready to be supercharged to actually work for New Yorkers and address their concerns. There's not a single New Yorker frankly, whose life is untouched by DCWP. Whether you are a consumer, a small business owner, an employee, the DCWP has the ability and remit to stand up for your rights and to fight predatory practices across the 5 boroughs. I want the next commissioner of this great agency to approach their role with a track record of achievement and an agenda of imagination, someone unafraid to take on entrenched interests. In Sam Levine, that is exactly the kind of leadership New Yorkers will get. Sam's pedigree is undeniable. From 2021 until this January, he served as the director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protections, leading many of these same efforts on a national scale. What he achieved is not only remarkable, it has made measurable differences in the lives of millions of Americans. We pay less in junk fees, avoid deceitful subscription traps, trust that our data has been safeguarded, and are exposed to far less illegal telemarketing thanks to Sam's work. Before leading the Bureau of Consumer Protections, Sam advised FTC Commissioner Rohit Chopra and worked for the Illinois Attorney General, ensuring that those who were often forgotten not only had someone who would protect them, but also championing their struggles. Proud to be standing here appointing Sam to this role because of his experience leading work that restores people's trust in government, not because it is something of only a day-to-day importance, but frankly because this is part of the long-term objectives and goals of our government and what government should aspire to everywhere. Sam will work alongside our Deputy Mayor for Economic Justice, Julie Su, to protect New York City's 80,000 deliveristas who are as New York City as it gets. He will enforce the laws we have on the books now for consumers and workers alike. He will make DCWP a force to be reckoned with, one that refuses to allow corporations to treat their employees as expendable. When he succeeds, that success will be felt in a city that is vibrant with flourishing small businesses, in markets full of people who can afford to buy gifts and goods for themselves and their loved ones, in workers who know that their leaders, in fact, have their backs, and in an economy that is fairer and more accessible for all. Congratulations, my friend.
Thank you, Mayor Lett.
Very well.
Thank you, Mayor Lett, for the opportunity to serve as your next commissioner of the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection. I'm a relatively new New Yorker, but my family has deep roots here. In fact, my grandmother, Eleanor Levy, grew up on the Lower East Side, just a few blocks from where I live today. She was a teacher here in the city, and it's a great honor to carry on that tradition of public service. I believe that the law is a tool for justice. It's not a static text, but a living and breathing instrument that has the power to transform the lives of working people. This belief has driven my work across these last 2 decades, from spearheading efforts to challenge illegal foreclosures when I was in law school, to taking on predatory for-profit schools as an assistant attorney general, returning millions of dollars to defrauded students. I believe the law is how we hold bad actors accountable. This is the work I was so proud to lead as director of the Bureau of Consumer Protection at the Federal Trade Commission. In that role, I took on Grubhub for exploiting delivery drivers and restaurants, Care.com for misleading home health care workers, Amazon and its top executives for trapping people in subscriptions they didn't want, Meta and TikTok for stealing our data and putting our children at risk. And I fought to close loopholes that let scammers and predatory lenders prey on small businesses with impunity. I believe that city government cannot be a passive bystander as corporations scheme to exploit working New Yorkers. I believe we must be relentless, diligent, and innovative in how we defend the people who built the city and call it home. The need for strong leadership at the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection is at an all-time high. Millions of New Yorkers are being crushed by the cost of living crisis. The 80,000 deliveristas who weave about Manhattan and Brooklyn delivering food and medicine. The thousands of working-class taxi drivers who take us to the airport and to our friends' homes. Tenants struggling with junk fees on top of sky-high rent. The bodegas who line our street corners, the bodegas we start and end our days at. These working-class New Yorkers are the very heart of this city. There is simply no New York without them. And it is time they have a city government that has their back. As Commissioner for the Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, I'll make sure that every gig worker, small business owner, independent contractor, and consumer knows their rights and knows with confidence that they have a champion in the city government. Gone are the days when companies like Instacart and DoorDash can bully their way into record profits on the backs of workers and consumers. Gone are the days when laws like just cause protections are allowed to be overlooked or forgotten. Gone are the days when we let key economic justice tools collect dust instead of using them to advance fairness for working people.
I love this place. If you haven't been, I highly recommend it, especially if you have kids. I'm talking about the Light Park. Sam Houston Race Park is lighting things up, and we actually had Coco Dominguez go through their drive-through at the Light Park, and here's how you can enjoy the holiday magic without ever leaving the car.
I am in here, snug as a bug, here with Gil Perez. He is the head of experience. We're going to drive in now. We've got 2 shots for you, so hopefully you can see them. We're at Sam Houston Race Park. We have gone through the line. We are entering the magic here. We're going to get a couple of treats. This is the part where you can load up all the goodies, right?
That is exactly right. We have delicious popcorn.
Welcome to the Light Park. I have one DJ Polar Ice plushie for you. Okay. One light one for you guys.
Alrighty. Just give me everything.
All right. We also have a radio station, which is 87.9 FM. Yes, and it syncs up with the lights in the park as well. And if you could also turn your headlights off for me as well, that would be great, ma'am. All right. And you guys are all good to go, and I hope you guys have a good night. Happy holidays!
Thank you, guys. We have DJ Polar Ice there. All right, we are on the move, good people. And yes, we've got our seatbelts on. Mine's nicely tucked away underneath my candy cane sweater. So tell me, what is the experience that you want people to have?
We are about to drive through millions of lights with synchronized sound. We've got really wonderful Christmas music. We charge per vehicle, not per person.
Okay.
So when you come, fill your vehicle up. Bring your kids, bring your uncles, your aunts,
you
your
can
grandparents.
bring your own snacks, guys. I'm going to turn it up real quick so you can see. Look. Look at that! Wow! How long is the ride once you get going?
It's about a mile long, a little bit over a mile. Takes, let's call it 20 minutes to make it all the way through.
You can't get out of your car.
You can't get out of your car. We want everyone to be safe. This goes all the way through January 4th. If you book online, Sunday through Thursday, it's $39.99. Fridays and Saturdays, it's $49.99. That price is only available online.
Get on out to the Light Park 3 here in Houston. Happy holidays from the Light Park here at Sam Houston Racetrack. I'm Coco Dominguez. It's Fox 26 News. Let's turn this back up.
It's a lot of fun, I'm telling you. You should take my word for it. All right, we're taking a look at how service dogs are helping veterans and first responders. The dogs are helping them regain confidence, and Fox's Jody Goldberg reports.
Give me a kiss. Thank you.
Paul Giacomo is learning the meaning firsthand of a man's best friend.
When he makes eye contact, he's just telling you, I've got you.
The 59-year-old was born with a genetic condition that left him with 2 fingers and 1 toe.
I had a lot more to prove than a lot of other people.
For more than half his life, Paul helped others as a first responder, not realizing how much he needed help himself.
They don't tell you when you're coming into it what you're going to see and hear and smell.
But decades of death and despair with no time to process it led to depression, anxiety, and PTSD.
You don't have time to process it. You don't grieve it. You put it in a junk drawer.
Paul helps others unpack their trauma through peer support while his own stayed sealed until Astro, this 18-month-old black lab, trained to keep him calm and grounded.
I want my family to have a better version of me than they've had.
America's Vet Dogs has trained 2,000 service dogs thanks to donors, puppy raisers, and trainers. And in this graduating class, 8 veterans and first responders.
They just blossom into this brand new person when they get to meet their dog.
For Paul, the change showed up in an unexpected way.
We go into the mall. He and I went and took our picture with Santa.
It's something he says he never would have done before. A smile and a sign of how far he's come. The same smile showing up on other faces here too.
I discounted my worthiness to have a dog. Having been through the program, I don't know if I'm worthy or not, but I'm keeping this dog.
Army veteran Bill Jones is heading home with his service dog Tosh. Bill has a muscle disease that weakens his body, but the 66-year-old says life already looks different.
I can tell you how much better life is just in 2 weeks.
Tosh is trained to help with everyday tasks. And if Bill falls, Tosh can press a button, sending an alert straight to his wife's phone.
Just seeing the hope that he has in his eyes helps me, gives me peace of mind.
Thank you.
As for Paul, Astro means more than independence.
He'll be supporting me so I can support other people.
And for Bill,
it's like the world is open to me. I've never had a better present in my life.
All right, welcome to Houston Live and Local. I'm Caroline Collins. We are continuing to follow that breaking news in Galveston County. A medical support plane from Mexico crashed into Galveston Bay. We do know at this hour at least 3 people on board that plane are now dead. There were 8 people on board in total at last check. We want to get live out to the scene. Our reporter Angie Rodriguez has been there for the last several hours. And Angie, what have you learned as this investigation continues?
Yeah, Caroline, we have a lot of new confirmed details per the Mexican Navy Secretary. We do know, like you said, 8 people were on board. 4 of them were Navy members and 4 others were civilians. They were transporting a 1-year-old medical patient. I want you guys to take a look at the scene behind me while I read off some more information that we have just been able to confirm. We do know from the Consulate of Mexico in Houston, we have confirmed the identity of those who have died. We do know one of them is Victor Rafael Perez Hernandez. Another is Juan Ivan Zaragoza Flores and Guadalupe Flores Barranco. It seems those are 2 civilians and 1 person that was in the Marines. We do know as well the name of those who are said to be missing but are assumed to have died as well. That is Luis Enrique Castillo Terrones. We do know at the moment, this is all according again to the Consulate of Mexico here in Houston. They say Luis Enrique Castillo Terrones. At the moment, they haven't been able to find his body, but they have assumed that because of the circumstances, it seems that he has passed away. We do know other passengers that were on this flight include another that died, Federico Efrain Ramirez Cruz, which was a civilian. The patient was Juan Alfonso Adame Gonzalez. We do know people that survived are Julia Aracelis Cruz Vera and Miriam de Jesus Rosas Mancilla. So this is just the absolute latest information that we have been able to confirm with the Consulate of Mexico here in Houston. Like you said, this is just absolutely the latest that we know, and we'll continue to keep you updated with any new information. We were expecting to hear from DPS and the FAA, but it appears now that it has been turned over to the FAA and NTSB. But once we learn any new details, we'll make sure to keep you updated, as well as all of those names that I just read out now. We'll have those on our website at fox26houston.com and continue to keep you guys updated on Fox Local.
Angie, just so our audience has clarity, there were in fact 8 people on board, and are they all missing at this point aside from the 3 confirmed dead that we reported on? Can you break that down one more time for us?
Yeah, so we reported that there were 3 dead, but we have been able to confirm absolutely with the Mexican Navy Secretary. They say it was a total of 8 people on board. 4 of them were Navy members, 4 of them were civilians. They were transporting a 1-year-old medical patient. We know it was a medical plane that was on its way to Mexico. We just learned the identities of those that have died or passed away since then. It seems one of the people that were missing is presumed to be dead. There was 2 people missing. One of those is presumed to be dead, according to the Consulate of Mexico here in Houston. It seems as well, and I want to make sure that I get this information right, so I'm reading it off from the email that we just got from the consulate as well. It appears the people that have died, 1, 2, 3 of them were with the Navy. 1 of them was a civilian. 2 other civilians did survive. And then it appears as though the patient as well did die, so that 1-year-old that was transported seems to have passed away as well. Breaking information, right? So we'll keep you guys updated once we learn, and we'll go ahead and translate. This is all in Spanish, so as I am reading this out to you guys, I'm translating it in real time to make sure that we have the latest information. So once we get this translated, we'll have it on our website at fox26houston.com and on Fox Local as well. So we'll just continue to keep you guys updated on this information. Very, very tragic situation it appears to be unfolding. The 2 people that were said to have disappeared, it seems that one of them is presumed to be dead. The other one, they just haven't found his body, but they do believe he has passed away as well.
Angie, I want to just give you a couple minutes to read that in detail. I know it's in Spanish. And get the information, and then let's check back in with you in just a couple minutes. I know that you're only scheduled to do 1 hit, but take your time, read that, And then let's come back to her in just a couple minutes for an update after she can read through and process what that information says, because she's just getting that to her phone. Thank you, Angie. All right. Now, let's go to another investigation. Investigators are working to determine what happened to 2 people found dead in 2 separate Houston bayous. Craig Belger has been following this story and provided an update on the News Edge early edition. Let's see what she had to say. Okay, we'll get back to her in just a second. So a football player from South Oak Cliff High School is in jail tonight, accused of a crime just hours after his team won the state championship. Fox's Dion Anglin reports with the latest court documents. Do we have that? Oh, okay. Well, let's go back to that breaking news then out of Galveston County. We are following that plane crash where we know that 8 people were on board. Several of them have died, possibly 2 of them still alive. There was a fog advisory in Galveston. You're taking a look at that right now. There's still going to be a fog advisory into tomorrow morning. Our Angie Rodriguez will be back right after the break with an update live from the scene. Well, State Representative Jean Wu from here in Houston co-hosted the annual Harris County Juvenile Detention Holiday Party. Take a listen.
Even as children, we believe that they are deserving of a second chance, and we want our children who are here to be rehabilitated, to have the chance that maybe they didn't have before, to make something better of themselves and to try to do that. And we're doing this to remind them that there are people here who care about you and that we want you to do better. Second is to thank the staff here to thank them for all their hard work. And if you have paid any attention to juvenile justice issues in Harris County in Texas, you know that Harris County juvenile system is one of the best in the whole country. And they have taken great pains to work towards better solutions every single day. And if you look at the metrics and look at the numbers, you will see that. You should be proud of them. And this is our way of thanking the staff and thanking the administration here who have done just outstanding work to do better for these kids and for our whole community. But also, third, this is my chance to talk about the idea that if someone is just talking about crime and public safety only during election season, that they're not serious people. That if we want to work on public safety, if we want to work on crime, if we want to make our community better and safer, that takes daily effort. That takes constant attention. But that also means that we work on things that are not about what happens after a crime has occurred. We also work on things that prevent crime. Because if we only worry about what happens after crime has occurred, after the arrest, after the conviction, we failed half the test. And what we're trying to do today is encourage everyone to remember public safety, juveniles, everything involved. This is a team effort. This is a community effort. We need everyone to be a part of this. We need our public policy makers, we need our community members, we need our organization to all have a role in helping these kids. And by helping these kids, we make our city safer. So thank you so much. And next, we're going to have Henry Gonzalez, Executive Director of the Harris County Juvenile Probation Department.
Thank you, Representative. Hi, I'm Henry Gonzalez, Executive Director of the Harris County Juvenile Probation Department. I'd like to begin by thanking everyone for being here, and particularly our partners, our stakeholders in the juvenile justice system. Without them, we couldn't have achieved our reform efforts in Harris County. Representative Wu mentioned that we have really changed the way we do juvenile justice in Harris County. And public safety has always been in the forefront with that. We do believe in accountability. We do believe that everyone should be held accountable for their actions. Part of accountability for juveniles is making sure that they are able to change the direction to make better decisions. But we all know that to do that, they need to be given the tools and the resources to be able to do that. And that begins with people who believe in them, people who care. And that's who we have here today. Without these individuals, without these organizations, these children see things that their situation is being hopeless. Today, we give them those opportunities. That's what our juvenile justice system is about. And today, we give them the opportunity to be able to celebrate the holidays like everyone else can. So for everyone here today, thank you for being here. And I will pass it on now to Charles Rotrammel, Revision.
Hi, I'm Charles Rotrammel. I'm the CEO of Houston Revision. We're a nonprofit that partners with the Harris County Juvenile Probation Department, not just today, but every day. We have staff members and volunteers that come into the Juvenile Detention Center and work alongside juvenile probation officers and probation staff, not only here, but in all the juvenile facilities and also out in the community with kids who are both on field probation and also who are in a diversion program. What these young people in here need, in the juvenile justice system need, is a caring adult. They need a relationship with a caring adult. Not all of them have that. Some do, some don't. And what Revision tries to provide is that caring adult to mentor those young people, to support them, and to encourage them to make changes in their lives. Our entire staff is here today. We also have a number of our volunteers here today to help with this holiday celebration. And we encourage you out in the community to volunteer, to become a mentor, to become a support person for one of these young people. Like Representative Wu said, this is not just theoretical, this is actual. Right, these are young people who need support.
Well, there's a soul food restaurant in Houston that's really going through it. Leslie Delaspore has this report.
So you were here when a car blew through the building. I mean, walk me through what happened. What did it sound like? I mean, that's crazy.
So actually, I was doing Christmas shopping, and my GM called me, and she was like, I don't want to tell you. I'm like, no, just come on. And she was like, somebody just ran through the dining room at the restaurant. And I'm like, okay. So we have a car in the middle of the dining room, and she was like, yeah, we do. And so I got up here, and it for sure was a car in the dining room. I mean, no one hurt though.
Well, and that's really good. But this is a big space, so I mean, you have the video, but kind of describe to us what happened and what we would be looking at.
So basically, the woman, she had not had sleep in about 2 to 3 days. Her husband was in the hospital, so she was coming here to get something to eat, and she came through the parking lot, and it's like she turned perfectly, but she never broke, and went straight through the building. Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, the damage from what we saw in the video was, I mean, extensive. So talk about some of the damage and stuff, and just kind of, you know, tell us a little bit about what's happened.
Honestly, so when she came in, she hit the steam tables, and of course the Christmas tree, the step and repeat that has our logo on it, a couple of tables, you know, but at the same time, it was mostly the framework that had the most damage. The other things could be picked up, swept up, you know, pushed to the side, but the outside was mainly like what was messed up, you know, more so than the inside.
And do you know, like, was she going pretty fast, or?
It looked about maybe 5 to 10, not even 10 miles.
She kind of slowed down the park, and then it just
kind of kept on going. Yeah. I mean, it was startling, especially when you look at the film. But the thing is, no one was there. And it's just the grace of God, because we always have a line. We always have people sitting here, and literally no one was there, and all the line people were on the other end of the line, because she came into the line. If they would have been standing by the rice, they would have been hit.
So there were steam tables just on the other side of this right here?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I saw over there on the far side of the building, are those steam tables over there as well?
Yes, it starts from this wall inside, and it goes all the way around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess, and you said your GM was here and other, you know, staff were here. When you got here, I guess, what did people tell you? Like, were they frantic, or just kind of walk me through the scene?
Well, the lady was sitting over here with her son. She was shooken up. You could tell something was going on with her. Our employees, of course, they were shook up because it just happened all of a sudden. But for the most part, it was a controlled situation. The biggest mess here was the mess, not the people, you know. Just I guess the initial shock of a car coming through the building, and you're not expecting that. Yeah.
And we'll walk a little bit more. So I guess, again, this is a lot of damage, right? From the outside on the inside. So can you talk about what's next, the repairs?
So right now it's just plywood up here, but on Monday our guys coming to fix the framework, do the windows, and it'll be back to normal. My brother's going to do the graphics for the windows. Also the step and repeat on the inside. They have to rebuild that as well, but those are things that can be replaced, and just with time and effort, it'll happen.
Yeah, but I'm gonna let this car back out. Give me 1 second, because that's kind of loud. Wait for him to back out. Hold on 1 second.
As you can see, when you turn it, it's kind of hard to just turn it and just ramp up, so you know it's something new.
Yeah. Because this looks like a, you know, this is a pretty big, you know,
steep
step, or whatever up. So to see her come over that,
yeah, that's how we know. That's how we knew, and I really couldn't be mad at her. Like when she told me what happened, she said she just blacked out. She hadn't been asleep. Her husband was in the hospital. Life happens, and I know that can wear and tear on you, stress like that. So, and she came here to get something to eat. I know she didn't mean to run through the wall. You know, it's just something that happened.
Wanted something after that.
A lot of people wanted something that they came up. Can we get a plate? I'm like, no, we're closed right now. But we still gave like the desserts and stuff we had. But yeah, she was okay, and we knew that it was something that was not on purpose, you know. Sometimes you can't help what happens in life, you know.
But I think that's telling, though, that, you know, this happened. People were here when it happened. They saw the destruction, the damage, and they were here for the chaotic scene, yet they still wanted to play. Yet she still wanted to play. So I think that goes back to the support. We talked about it earlier at the other location. What has support been like for you guys, even here with this?
Like I said, that night they were coming, thank God the next morning they were still coming. Our numbers actually spiked up a little bit. You know, the community has always been good to us out here, no matter what we go through, because we've been through multiple situations, but they always stand behind us and support us, and that's all we need from them, you know, to keep it going.
Yeah. And this situation happened first, and then the break-in happened.
And then the break-in and third ward happened.
So I think just being here, obviously this one happened first, and then third ward. Again, I guess kind of what's going through y'all's minds now. 2 incidents within like 48 hours or so, 48, 72 hours.
The responsibility of it all, you know, like I said, things happen. We have things in place to take care of this, and we're just taking the strides to get it done, and so we can get back to normal. I can't complain. We can't complain because it just comes with the territory. If something is bound to go wrong. It's just, are you willing and equipped to go ahead and get it done and fix it and not let it knock you down?
All right, let's get back to that medical support plane from Mexico crashes into the Galveston Bay. Our Angie Rodriguez is standing by with the latest deadly updates. Angie.
Yeah, Caroline, a really tragic incident that unfolded here in Galveston today. We can confirm 8 people were on board that plane, and we are just now learning more information about those who are presumed to be dead from this plane crash. I'll go ahead and let you look at what's left over of the scene. It's not a lot, but this is just what we're seeing. We actually saw a lot of the fire department and officers make their way out. We do know at least 5 people have died from this plane crash, according to the Houston Consulate of Mexico. 3 of those were in the Navy for Mexico, and then 2 of those were passengers. We did know from earlier reports that this was a medical flight for a 1-year-old child with an organization that helps child burn victims. That 1-year-old patient is unfortunately one of those that did die in this crash. So again, a total of 5 people dead in this plane crash. We know 2 people did survive, and 1 person is still missing, presumed to be dead, again, by the Consulate of Mexico based here in Houston. That is the absolute latest information we've been able to confirm, but like you can see, the scene here just has pretty much cleared out, so it looks like investigators are kind of wrapping up the situation that's going on here. It's been very devastating to hear just the situation itself unfold. I mean, a 1-year-old child hoping to be saved on this medical flight that unfortunately crashed earlier today. We do know someone on that plane had actually made the 911 call around 3:20 this afternoon to let people know what exactly had happened, and this whole situation just unfolding as we continue to learn new details.
Angie, do you know if the bodies or the people that they were looking for in the water, if anyone's been recovered? I know there were like still 2 people unaccounted for.
Yeah, of those 2 people, we do know one of them is still missing. One of those was recovered. We're not sure if the one that was recovered was one of the survivors or one of the people that died from the crash, but 1 person is still missing, but the Houston Consulate of Mexico says they are presumed to have died from this crash.
All right, Angie, we are learning that there is a media briefing happening right now at the site of the crash. Let's listen in.
And you said the call came in around 3 p.m.? Yes, sir. And you guys are now wrapping up around 7. That's about 4 hours of operation. I mean, can you speak to like maybe the efficiencies of, you guys working hand in hand with each other?
No, it was just, it was a long process because there were still patients that we did have to rescue. So that took time, and just to make sure that, everybody on the manifest was accounted for.
And there were survivors. Talk about, their condition. Do you know their condition at this time?
I do, but it's still in an investigation, so I can't release that information.
Okay. I think that's pretty much it. Anything else that you think you could add?
Nah, that's it, man.
You told them that I didn't ask?
We pretty much covered it all.
Okay.
He
just went over more with you. Yeah.
Sorry, Josh, we were looking for you when we came
I was right in here. No problem.
All right, that was someone with the Galveston County Fire Department going over what we know happened in this deadly Galveston Bay plane crash. So we did learn about this around 3:20 this afternoon is when the call came in, and a plane According to Mexican officials, it was a medical plane from Mexico carrying a patient and 7 other people. It crashed into Galveston Bay this afternoon, and it was a multi-agency response, and it closed down parts of the causeway. We do know that multiple people are dead. There may be 2 survivors, and we're hoping that that is the case, but this is still a live scene. You have the Galveston Sheriff's Department there, their crime scene unit. The FAA will have to continue to investigate this. Texas DPS is leading this investigation, but it's a very sad situation. A plane coming down in Galveston Bay earlier this afternoon, 8 people on board. Many people have died. 2 potential survivors. We'll be right back.
everybody. Welcome to the Spectrum of Parenting, where we talk about issues in the special needs community. I'm your host, Faith. I'm a producer here at Fox 26, and I am also a special needs mom. And today we are talking about big holiday gatherings and how they can impact special needs children and their families. We have an expert joining us, Dr. Trinika Jefferson. She's a board-certified behavior analyst and the Chief Clinical Officer of CODA Autism Services. Welcome.
Hi, Faye. Thank you for having me.
For all of the families who are trying to make the holidays inclusive right now, what are some mindset shifts that we can make to help our children and ourselves?
Yeah, so I think we could think of it as though we're curating the experience as opposed to feeling like we have to tolerate being around our family or large gatherings and that nature. So what that could look like is, of course, planning ahead, letting your child know what exactly is going to go on leading up to that actual holiday event. In addition to that day of, you could already have mapped out what that day is going to look like, even though those things things may change. So we all have to be very flexible. We've seen the traffic in Houston. We know that there's lots of delays, but we just have to understand that we could schedule, we could plan, but things may change throughout that day. So be prepared for those changes. Letting your child know that they don't have to tolerate everything. So even if you're going to someone's house, letting your kid know that they could take a break, they could go outside, they could go to a different room, make sure that they already have things with them that they actually prefer. So that could be, you know, a fidget toy, a favorite blanket, a hoodie, things that help regulate them. So keeping those preferred things with them could also help throughout that day when they're not at home and they're away around other people that they may not be familiar with. They may be younger and they may have, last time they see aunt was when they were 4 and this year they're 5 and they don't know that person anymore. Okay. And also as a parent, understanding that you could have negotiables and your non-negotiables. And so stick with whatever your, you know, non-negotiable things are. If you're going to plan to maybe eat at home first, because your child may not tolerate all types of food or everyone else's food in general. So even though at grandma's house she's going to cook mac and cheese, your child may not eat their mac and cheese. Your child may only eat your mac and cheese. Right. So if you have to cook ahead of time and have their scheduled eating, their scheduled naps, their scheduled activities, those are just things to kind of prepare you going into the day and be flexible with it, and things that you may want to leave early, and that could be completely fine.
I mean, that's just at like every family gathering is we just have to leave early. We can't stick around the whole time, but that's been the case since my son got diagnosed at 3. He's 6 now. And I just recently had my birthday party, and it was like a Hanukkah party as well. We had some friends over, and I felt bad. My husband wanted it to be like a fun day for me, but like a fun day includes my family as well. But he was like, no, you know, our son Noah, he's gonna mess things up or get into things, and I just want you to have like a nice peaceful time with your friends and your family for your birthday, so I'll just go ahead and take him home. And as much as it hurt me, I was like, he's kind of right. It's not just about me, it's about what makes my son comfortable. And he was in a new environment with new people he'd never met before, and I was like, okay, as much as I'd love for my son to be included in this, I have to put him first and what makes him comfortable first. So that, I think that's the case for a lot of special needs families as well.
Right, comfort over compliance. Like, we're trying to get out of that whole compliance thing and making sure that they feel comfortable in their environment, because we could conform better to things going on and when things change, as opposed to sometimes kids that are on the spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. So for family members who might want to help, like you were saying, Auntie might not have seen her nephew in a while and may not know the best ways to help a special needs child feel comfortable, what are some things they can do to help the kids feel included?
Right, so I think kind of like in layman's terms, like when you meet people where they're at. So even with children that are on the spectrum, it's not that they don't know things, they may not just be able to communicate it, or they may not approach, you know, a family member or even a friend. And so I think the simplest things that family members could do is, you don't have to always communicate with them. You could sit right next to them and let them know that you're there and you're available in the event that they actually want to play with you.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Where can people find out more about your business and what you do?
Yeah, so our website is codaautism.org, and our IG handle is coda.autism. Okay. So follow us for tips and strategies on autism, resources, materials, and all great things that are in the autism community.
I definitely will. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, guys. I will clip this whole interview, and you can see it on fox26houston.com. We'll see you next time. Happy holidays.
All right, tonight investigators are working to determine what happened to 2 people who were found dead in 2 separate Houston bayous. Carrie's Belger has been following this story for us and provided an update earlier tonight.
Have police indicated whether these 2 incidents are related at all?
They have not. And just to give you a little more context for where I am, I'm near the University of Houston, just off Old Spanish Trail. That first body was found not far from where I'm standing. It was actually on the rocks near the water of the bayou, not on the bayou specifically. That second body was found closer to downtown Houston. That was the second call that Houston police received today. Take a look at this video from that location to give you a few more details. This video was taken near Crawford and Elysian. And when Fox 26 arrived on scene, scene, multiple Houston police units were present. Investigators were working to piece together what exactly happened. They were speaking with people in the area, and this was the latest body that has been found in a Houston area bayou. A lot of the people police were interviewing are in fact unhoused. Investigators are now tasked with determining both who these individuals are and also what may have happened to them. And that process can be challenging. In the past, when Fox 26 has covered these stories, investigators have mentioned that the water from the bayou can cause a body to decompose at a more advanced rate. That makes it even harder when they're trying to figure out what exactly happened.
All right, this story, has been trending on our website here today. 2 bodies found in the bayou you mentioned, but how many have been found here so far this year?
Well, the 2 who were found today bring that total now to 33. Of course, we've been covering this story extensively for quite some time. Now, police have not determined who exactly these people were, what exactly their circumstances were, but I did mention they were speaking to some unhoused people at another scene today. And it has been mentioned in the past by officials that we've talked to that sometimes unhoused people, instead of calling the authorities, will, when someone has passed away, let that person go into the bayou instead of calling the police or other sort of authority figures. Near Bray's Bayou, I'm Kara Spelger for Fox 26 News.
All right, now let's go and check back in with our Angie Rodriguez. She has been reporting on the breaking news since this afternoon when it all happened. A small plane going down in Galveston Bay, killing several people, 8 people on board. Angie has been there on the scene for quite some time with an update. Angie. Going to give us another live update from the medical support plane that went down from Mexico into Galveston Bay. At least 3 people were killed. We do know that that number has been updated. There's even more people who didn't make it. 8 people on board in total. I believe at this point just 2 survivors, so that would be 6 people dead. Multiple agencies have been investigating this. The FAA is also investigating. Basically, according to Mexico's Navy Secretary, they say that the plane was conducting a support mission and there was a child patient on board, and the Mexican Navy confirmed that 8 people were on board that plane, 4 naval crew members and then 4 civilians. The Mexican consulate in Houston tells Fox 26 that at least 3 of those crew members have died, and they were working to recover some people. We've heard that there could be 2 survivors, and that looks to be about it. The Texas DPS is said to be leading this investigation. Again, this all happened around 3:20. One of the things that we're not certain of right now is there was a dense fog advisory in Galveston, and it is in place until tomorrow. We don't know if that played a role in this crash, but it was really foggy and visibility was very, very low. We even heard from our crews when they were driving to this area on the causeway that it was really difficult to even see the cars in front of them, let alone flying an airplane. That can be very dangerous for airports. And we do know that we have Angie Rodriguez fixed her mic, and she has been standing by reporting on this all afternoon, and it looks like there's some movement behind you. Angie, what's going on?
Yeah, Caroline, sorry, we're trying to figure out our mic situation here since we've been here, like I said, all day for several hours. We've been here since about 4:45 this afternoon. We do know, according to the Mexican consulate here in Houston, he's been able to confirm with the Mexican Navy that 5 people are dead. 1 person was missing and is presumed to be dead, and 2 people are the only survivors of this plane crash. We do know that 3 Navy officers are dead. One of those was the missing person person presumed to be dead. And from the civilians, there were a total of 4. 2 of those died and 2 are the survivors. We did know originally this was a medical flight for a 1-year-old child that was on his way from here in the U.S. to Mexico. We did hear as well that he was, unfortunately, that 1-year-old child was one of the victims of this plane crash. So a lot of moving details that we've been able to confirm with the Mexican consulate here in Houston, who did also confirm it with the Mexican Navy as well. And like you said, this has been just a tragic story to continue to follow all day. The visibility here has gotten better as the night has continued, but during the day, whenever search efforts were at their highest, it was definitely difficult to see.
Angie Rodriguez, it looks like crews are moving out there. Any word on if they're done searching and investigating at this point?
It seems as though they are. They haven't confirmed that with us. We did try to speak with Texas DPS. They referred us to the FAA and NTSB, but it seems like most of the crews that were here originally are making their way out. It appears as though the scene is wrapping up for tonight, but like I said, it appears the only person they were looking for is that one missing person that is presumed to have passed away that was in the Mexican Navy.
All right, Angie Rodriguez reporting live there for us tonight. Thank you. We'll be right back.